Okay, hello world and Larson Training Center students, or Larson Business School students. Also, this is our weekly memorization prestidigitation event. So does anybody at Casa Grande know what prestidigitation is? What is prestidigitation? What was it?
Magic.
What was the answer, John? I don't know why
I did not hear it. I didn't have time to Google it.
Prestidigitation is magic.
Woohoo!
So every week, our students have to get up here and either do recitation or prestidigitation. Because if you can do magic tricks, you'll get people's attention too, and you'll persuade them to be on your side. But if you can't, then we do memorization. So Jesus, could I see that book, please? This one? Yeah. Okay, so this is the book. And everybody has an opportunity to earn it. Well, everybody will earn it because it's not hard to earn it. We just don't have the 2016 editions yet, but we can talk to Sherry about it and just order more of the 2014 editions. So this book here is something that you'll want to keep. It's going to be one of the best books you've ever had because it's a collection of all of the, not all, but virtually all, 99% of the most famous poems, prayers, and speeches that we learn from the time we start learning nursery rhymes. In fact, it starts with nursery rhymes. The very first one in the book, and I'm sure everybody there has heard this before, but it is Jack be nimble. So what's the second line? Right? Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. And the next one is Humpty Dumpty. And most people learn that well before they could read. Little Jack Horner, Baa Baa Black Sheep, This Little Pig, Three Blind Mice, Jack and Jill, Mary Had a Little Lamb. And then on page 12 is the first one that we have to remember called The Red Wheelbarrow. It's only 16 words, it's 8 lines, and it's something that a 4-year-old can memorize. And then the next one is on the next page. It's called The Purple Cow. And that is 25 words, 4 lines. And that's another one that when you're 4 is the age group that you should be able to remember that. When our students come up here and they demonstrate that they know the Red Wheelbarrow and the Purple Cow, then they get to have their book. And over the next 16 weeks, there's 1 or 2 poems, prayers, or speeches that have to be recited. And you're supposed to be doing it from memory. Because the key is if you can't remember things, it's pretty much the same as not knowing it. And memory is something we all need to practice and work on, especially as we get older, because we get out of the habit of doing it. And then when we do things like watch television, we're conditioned to not really remember. It's just to have a stream of sensations come in to our eyes and ears, and they affect us, and then they go through because something's coming right behind it, so we really don't remember. We've gotten out of the habit of doing that. I can promise you and assure you, if you bring this book in to your interview, to your job interview, it will help you get hired. And here's how that works. And Safira Allen at Casa Grande, you can ask her about it. Not only did it get her the job, but we had to give them, we had to give the owner of the place, her employer, a signed copy of the book as well, because he liked it so much. So the way it works in the interview is you talk about Larson and you want them to ask you, well, what kind of stuff did you do at Larson? And you say, well, a big thing at Larson was memorization. We really focused on remembering things, doing things to remember stuff. And so we had a book. Oh, here's a copy of the book right here. We had this book that we would learn, and you hand them the book and they're going to flip through it, and they're going to say, oh, I remember that, I remember that, I remember that. Cool. Yeah, that's great. You like it. Last year, in about May, Nolan Bushnell was here. The school presented him with the book. What we usually do when we have a guest speaker is everybody signs the book. We give the book to our guest. Gave the book to Nolan. He flipped through it and said, two roads diverged in a yellow wood. And then he recited the rest of the poem. The next day, he was at Loyola Marymount doing a TED Talk, and he started the TED Talk off by reciting the poem again. And that's because, he got this is really a very powerful, strong thing. So this is a book you're going to want to have. And it was developed, so I'll show you the page. It was developed so that it has how many lines, how many words, what age, and then there's a start date memorized and a signature. So the idea of this book is you have a book for your kids when they're born, they're 2, whatever, and then at the dinner table, 1 or 2 nights a week, you go through the book, you have them memorize it, and you have them sign it the day they finish memorizing it. But of course, kids can't sign, but they can scribble something, right? 10 years later, when the kids go back and they look at their signature, it comes back just like that of when they remembered when they first finished memorizing that poem. And it's a very, very powerful thing. So that was the purpose of the book. We use it here because it's a good collection of things. We've had 5 students memorize all 16. And if you do, those who do get all the way through and memorize all of them get a Chromebook. Jesus, would you grab that Chromebook over there, please? So they get a Chromebook. Thank you. So this is a Chromebook. Kind of looks like a laptop, but it's not a laptop. And what's good about it, or one of the things that's good about it, it's an internet device. As soon as you open it up, that's how long it takes before you can start using it. So a laptop might take 1 or 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes to fully get loaded. With the Chromebook, in a couple seconds, it's on. You type in your password. It's on the internet. You're good to go. All of your Google apps are on there. It's a powerful thing. And so we're working with Google. What Google wants to do is give everybody at Southern Desert who's in the school a Chromebook. And if you graduate or you complete properly from Southern Desert in the 8-week program that we're going to be doing there, you get to keep the Chromebook. Here, if you memorize all of the poems, we give you a Chromebook. And the Chromebook is, it's the gateway to the cloud. It's like a laptop, not a laptop. The last poem that people have to memorize is something that everybody, I think, knows. It's Mark Antony's speech, right? Okay, so it's Mark Antony's speech. You might remember it. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him, et cetera, et cetera. So everybody has an opportunity to do that. And I can promise you, if you go into an interview and you talk to them about memorization and things you memorize, you show them the book and they flip through the book and they say, well, what did you do? And you say, well, the last one I did was Jabberwocky, or stopping by woods on a snowy evening, that it will greatly enhance your ability to get the job. It will make your life better, etc. So what we do every week on Fridays is our students come up here and they get to recite what they memorized. And not only is it live for us, but it's live for the whole world. So anybody in the world could be watching this. Oftentimes, Lieutenant Scally watches this. Students in California oftentimes watch. Family and friends of people oftentimes watch. So it's a lot of fun. It's kind of scary for some people at first, but once you get used to it, it's not a big deal. And the more competent you are at being able to speak, to communicate, the more confident you are, or the more competent you are, the more confident you will be. So we try to make this fun. And what we have is somebody here says, quiet on the set. Somebody else is the director, and they say 3. Then you take a breath. Believe it or not, it's hard for some people to do 3. Some people can't do it. Tony's one.
Why don't they just go 3, 2, 1?
Huh? Why don't they? Because they don't want to have the audio. Because when you have to edit, you don't want to have sound. That's why they say quiet on the set.
3, 2, 1.
No, 3. So they need a long time to be able to cut and splice. Anyway, so let's see. We'll get started. Who's going to do which part?
I'll do 3, 2.
No.
Okay. 3.
Got it. Okay, good. All right. So let's see. Since we don't have a lot of people, let me just check one. I think I might do, I'll do Jabberwocky. Did I do Jabberwocky last week? I'll do it again. The people in California, in Casa Grande.
Purple Cow no,
Okay.
what did you do last week?
I thought I did Jabberwocky, but we'll do it again. Okay.
Quiet on the set.
3.
Okay, so my name is Edward Bevilacqua, and I am going to recite Jabberwocky from Lewis Carroll, and this is from Alice in Wonderland. Some people might remember it from that. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the momraths outgrade. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the mansome foe he sought, and rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in oofish thought he stood, the Jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came whiffing through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. Hast thou slain the Jabberwock, my son? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, callooh, callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the momraths outgrade. So not bad, right, Phyllis?
Good.
Got it mostly right.
Okay.
Oh, I did? Okay, good. So that's my contribution for this week. Who's going to be next? It looks like Constance is saying her.
Much as I hate it, right?
Yeah. Did they say first thing you do in the morning is eat a frog, everything else is easier?
Oh, definitely.
Quiet on the set.
3.
Hello, everyone. My name is Connie Kroll. I'll be reciting today the Pledge of Allegiance and Beautiful. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Beautiful are the faces that wear the light of a pleasant spirit there. Beautiful are the hands that do deeds that are noble, good, and true. Beautiful are the feet that go swiftly to lighten another's woe.
Good. Good job. Okay, thank you.
I lost my word there for a second.
No, you recovered. You recovered.
Okay.
She is Casa Grande approved, by the way.
Okay, good.
My name's Larry Spellman.
Wait, cut.
Oh,
Quiet on a set.
3,
my name's Larry Spellman. I'm from Casa Grande. Today I'm going to read How Do I Love Thee, Let Me Count Thee Ways by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight, for the ends of being the ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for the right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and my childhood faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death.
Good job, Larry. Now, you didn't, you thought that was kind of tough, right? Last
Yeah, it
week,
was.
like you didn't have any meaning or something.
No,
Just couldn't-
it was just very tough for me to remember. I tried, but I don't know. I got a lot on my mind. I couldn't do it.
Well, you read it well.
All right,
Good
thank
job. Good job. Okay, Phyllis, are you ready?
Yes.
You said I read it well, huh?
You did. You read it well.
Thank you.
okay.
Oh, it's the other way. Not where. No, I'll tell you.
Quiet on the set.
3.
All right, my name is Jesus Sanchez, and this is my 13th week at Larson Training Center, and I will be reading St. Crispin's Day Speech by William Shakespeare from 1864 to 1616.
What? 1864.
Oh, 1564. I'll just check a few.
Yeah.
Okay. If we are marked to die, we are not. We are now.
Yeah.
To do our country loss, and if to live, the fewer man, the greater share of our honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one man more. By Jove, I am not
Covetous.
covetous for gold, nor care I who
Doth mine.
feed upon my cost. It earns me not if man my garments wear. Such outward things dwell not in my desires. If it be a sin of covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive. No faith by cost, my cost, wish not a man from England. God's peace, I wish not lose so great an honor. As one man more, what's this, methinks,
Mhm.
would share from me. Rather proclaim Westmoreland through my host, that he which hath what?
No stomach.
No stomach to his fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convey. Put into it what?
His purse.
Into his purse. We should not die in the man's company. The fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispin.
Crispin.
Okay. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand tiptoe when this day is named and rouse him at the name of Crispin. He that shall see this day and live in old age will yearly on the Vigo feast his neighbors and say, "Tomorrow St. Crispin." Then he will strip his sleeve and show his scars. These words are very difficult. And say, "These wounds I had on Crispin's day. Old man forget, yet, what is it?
All shall be forgotten.
I shall be forgot, but he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day." Then shall, I don't know when these words are.
And shall our names.
And shall our names, Harry the King, Bedford, Exeter, Warwick, and Talbot, Salisbury, and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall be good. Man teaches son, and Crispin's shall never
Is that near?
Yeah.
ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world. But we shall be remembered, we few, we happy few, we band our brothers, for he today and sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. But he'll, these words are so difficult.
No.
This day shall gentle in his condition and gentlemen in England, now in bed, shall think themselves accursed that we're not here, and hold manhood's cheap, while any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day.
Okay, good job. Good effort reading it.
Let me see that.
Okay, just a second. Okay, so I'm going to go through this a little bit more slowly because this is a great poem, but the words are not really easy. So does anybody at Casa Grande know what this poem's about?
That would be a no.
Okay, no. So this is from Henry V. This is Shakespeare from Henry V. And the British are about to go into a battle with the French. And the British are really beaten down. Their uniforms are tattered, their shoes, their boots are gone, they're starving, they're filthy. And up on the hill on the other side are the French, and they're all fresh. They outnumber the British. They're rested. They're happy. They know they're going to win. Throughout, the French king has been sending messengers down to King Henry V saying, look, we'll give terms of surrender. Just surrender. We'll let you live, do this. And Harry kept saying, no, no, no. We're not going to surrender. And so this is the night, or this is the day before the final battle of the British and the French. And the British soldiers are kind of saying to Henry V, hey, look, we can't win. Let's go. They're talking among themselves. Screw it. Let's run. Let's leave the field. Let's do this. Should we stay? Why are we doing this? This is a suicide mission. And so this is his speech that gets everybody to decide to fight. And what ultimately happens is the British win. And they have very few losses. They just wipe out the French. And so, you know, at the beginning, he says, if we are marked to die, we are now to do our country loss. Okay, if we're going to lose, we're going to do our country loss. And if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. Okay, so you can picture that, right? If it's only 10 against 1,000 of them, that's going to be even more honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one man more. By Jove, I'm not covetous for gold, nor do I care who doth feed upon my cost. So he's saying, I don't care about money. I don't care who's using me for something. It earns me not if men my garments wear. People take my clothes. It doesn't affect me. Such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive. So I'm really out there for honor. That's what's driving me. No, faith, my cuz, wish not a man more from England. God's peace. I would not lose so great an honor as one man more methinks would share for me. So I don't want anybody more. It's not only that, I don't want anybody more. In fact, rather, proclaim it, Westmoreland, who's one of his pals, through my host, that he which hath no stomach for this fight, let him leave. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put in his purse. We'll give him papers that he can leave. We'll give him money. If he doesn't want to be here, that's okay. We would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. Okay, so this is his speech. And he says, this day is called the Feast of Crispin. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when this day is named. So if we live next year and on the anniversary of this day, we're going to be proud. We'll stand tiptoe when this day is named and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall see this day and live old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is St. Crispian. Then he'll strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, these wounds I had on Crispin's day. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot. But he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. So he's going to exaggerate. You know, that's what happens. He's going to remember this day forever. He's going to have exaggerate. He's going to show his scars. This happened here. This happened here. Then shall our names, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. So their flowing cups is in the wine, in what they're drinking. This story shall the good man teach his son. And Crispian shall never go by from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. Now the Navy SEALs like the following part. So if you're a Navy SEAL, this was a part they really relate to. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he never so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. So even if he's a bad guy, this day will gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England now abed, so those people back home that are abed, that are sleeping, they'll think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whilst any speaks who fought with us upon St. Crispin's day. And that speech is what turned the battle of the war, and the British won, and the rest is history. So, good first effort reading it. Jesus, the words are tough. Shakespeare wrote this in about the year 1600. So about 400 years ago, this was written. And this is one of those things that I can assure you makes the book worth having. There you go, Larry. Oops. Okay, Phyllis. We've got Phyllis last.
Somebody
Yeah.
actually remembered that?
Remembered Phyllis?
That one? That poem?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You've got one, Phyllis. You can't leave me here hanging. 23rd Psalm. Lord's Prayer. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood.
No.
Okay. Death be not proud.
Happy.
How about the one
Happy smile.
How about the one I read? Can you remember that one?
Pippa's song.
I'll do a smile.
Hamlet's soliloquy. Larry will give, what page is it on?
It is on page.
Yeah.
18.
Okay, here's Phyllis. She's going to round out the day. Then Phyllis will round out the day. Then she's going to then we'll all take a short break. Then we'll come back. We'll review the quizzes from this morning.
Light on the set.
3.
My name is Phyllis Woodruff, and I'll be reciting a smile. Let the others cheer the winning man. There's one I hold worthwhile. 'Tis he who does the best he can, then loses with a smile. Beaten he is, but not to stay. Down with the rank and file. That man will win some other day, who loses with a smile.
Good job.
And that's the end of the memorization.
Okay, but don't push click. Don't stop it because we got to go into that.
Okay.
for the quizzes. Okay, thanks everyone. Let's take a break. 10-minute break. Take 10, as they say.
What was the
pretty
name of
good.
that? What was the name of
That
that
was
poem that
fast.
he was trying to read?
St. Crispin's.
St. Crispin's.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Wow, that's a
We're doing,
tough.
beautiful. Okay, now there you go.
2 pages. Wow. You nailed that, Phyllis?
What?
St. Crispin's?
No,
No.
Sapphira did, right?
Sapphira did?
I know.
And Falmy, Manuel, Saul, Israel.
Wow.
Who else? Somebody else.
Monica might.
And you'd have to be like,
William Hendricks might have.
Yeah.
you'd have to be doing 8 hours a day trying to remember this.
Oh, okay.
Cover this. No care.
Beautiful are the faces that work. Beautiful faces are they that. Right. And then.
I spelled Lear wrong too.
Such hours thing.
And then before they go. But it's they that.
Everybody else is gonna do is.
I just,
Yeah.
Go on, all asking me about that,
feet May,
on the phone thing.
hands May,
Oh,
faces May.
Oh, wait. Hands, feet, and beautiful, and then add one to the. That's all. Oops. Oh,
Oh, I can't fix it.
no, you don't fix it. No, I was telling you so you know. Oh, sicky. You got me sick last time.
Well, there's a lot of allergy right now.
No. I know how you sound when you're sick. Caught that last time.
well, should we get started? Phyllis? Everybody's here. John, is everybody there?
They just left. They'll be back in a few minutes, I guess.
Okay, got it.
Got no internet.
That's true.
Turn it off.
But what is yours the one on the bottom?
I turned off the gray one because that row was still on. The red one's for the back row and the gray one's for the front and the middle.
Oh, got it. But what is this red one? Oh, I see.
I just got.
Oh, got it. And this one would go, okay, got it. Oh. Oh, so that's right, they're not daisy chained. Okay, John, when everybody gets there, let me know.
Okay. Don't hold your breath.
Okay.
3 times.
Those are the rules?
Mm-hmm. Fix it, Jesus.
Oh, no wonder. No wonder. Why I don't have internet. So we can plug this red.
One is back. The countdown has begun.
Okay, great.
But I'm always early. They're,
No, you're always on
sometimes they're
time.
playing basketball.
Playing basketball?
Yeah.
Oh.
Might get all that.
Here's the Kleenex roll. I better put it on.
Wait till she went out. She ain't wait today, huh? She did it. I was on 43 days.
We're gonna go Monday to the other place, because we have some technical.
What's your title speed now? It was 17 that last year.
Yeah, 33.
You went up to 33?
Yeah, but I only know so many
Give me
keys.
some high five on that gum, girl. You ain't here typing your little fingers off, huh?
Yeah, but I only have so many keys.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Because there's another.
Doing good. That's what's up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm happy for you.
I know, I'm missing you, not having you sitting next to me to tell me what to do come Monday.
Yeah, from 7, what you had, 17 and
24,
Yeah.
Two are back.
47.
Okay.
Do it here. Wait.
Oh, girl. Y'all have to give me a job. Memorization that y'all gonna have. Okay? Hire me, I'll be the janitor.
Get ready to go. Okay, we're back. This is the review of the. We'll be back in a minute. Gotta take this call. Hello. Well, got a minute.
You're learning like, by helping out.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know all of the navigation on maps. My first exposure to it. I use Windows all my life. Microsoft Word. So Google to me, I've never used similar in a lot of ways.
Well, I would say yeah, because it probably, I think they're comparable. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I do. Yeah, great. Okay, thanks. Okay. So we're going to focus on are the quizzes from today. So this is the TED quiz. Okay. Can you see my screen, John?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the great things about Google is they have these add-ons. So this is a spreadsheet. You know, we have the form. This form, when you fill this in and hit submit, it writes it to a spreadsheet. And then that spreadsheet can be sorted by different columns in a lot of different ways, and we can keep track of stuff. It's very easy to do. So what I do is I take the spreadsheet, I put some colors on it. Here's my answer, which is the actual answer. And then they have things that are called add-ons, which are like little sub-programs within the, or sub-apps within the app. One of them is called Flubberoo, which grades the papers or does things to sort. If you have a report, it does it to sort things. So we use that, and it's not precise. It's not exactly precise because it's looking for exact matches. So if I say the correct answer is Sebastian Song and you wrote Song, comma, Sebastian, it's going to think it's wrong, so we have to go through it. So when we go through these, what I don't want people to think is this is your final answer. This is just your raw score. This is the raw part. So everybody took the quiz, we clicked on the buttons and did our thing, and now we have the grades. And what I want you to do is to have your composition books out and go to a page for each of the quizzes. So one page for the TED Talk quiz, one page for the, then the 10 o'clock quiz, and then the 11 o'clock quiz, because the questions that get asked, the same questions that get asked every week, if you write the answers down in your book, you're going to remember it. You're going to know where it is and you're going to remember it. Now, you might think you're not going to remember it if you write it in your book. But the way our brains work is every time you see something, say something, write something, you make another copy in your brain and it gets easier to remember. So it's going to be easier to remember the answers to the questions if you have them written in your book and you look at them, even if you only look at them every time you ask the question every week for the next 8 to 16 weeks, it's still going to help you remember more than if you just have it in your brain somewhere. Because what will happen is you'll see the question, so you'll see the question, then you'll say, oh, that's on my TED Talk quiz, I need to go to that page. Then you're going to read the question and the answer, so that's another copy of it. Then you're going to go back to the TED Talk quiz, you're going to see the question again, then you're going to watch yourself checking the correct answer. So there's going to be about 4 or 5 times you're going to go over that process. So every week you'll see something 4 or 5 times if you don't review it during the week, but you should review it during the week. But if you don't review it during the week, you're still going to see it 4 or 5 times. So it's important to write these things down as we go. Okay, so here's how the grades worked out. Oh, I need to say one other thing. This is like in yoga, meaning you just focus on your practice, your quiz. This isn't about comparing people to other people. And last year when we did this, we do it right after class and everybody would want to compare themselves to other people. This is not about how you do against anyone else. Don't take it that way. This is about how you go from today to next week, to the week after that, to week after that. This is about progress. And it might take 4 weeks before it starts sinking in, before the progress does it. Just like if you go to the gym, the first day you go, there's not a lot of improvement. The first week you go, there's not a lot of improvement. It might take 3 or 4 weeks before you're able to really start improving. So don't be bothered by that. With Nolan Bushnell, his advocacy is no grades, no grades. So if he was the king of the world and said, I'm going to have my own public school system, there would be no grades. Nobody's in first grade, second grade, third grade. There would be none of that. And there would be no grades. Nobody would be getting A's, B's, C's, D's. It would be however long it takes you to master the subject. And if you want to put a lot of time into it and you want to get through it quickly, get through the 12th grade quickly, good for you. If you want to take your time and graduate from the 12th grade when you're 42, that's your decision to make because it's your life. So we stopped doing this for a long time, and then we kind of come back and do it, and we sense it. But for our students at Casa Grande, we want to go through, since you put in a good day's effort today, and it was a little bit confusing, and you'll be here on Monday, we're going to go through these 3 quizzes quickly, or as quick as we can. Okay, so the grades turned out to be like this. So the high was Jesus, and he got 37% of them correct. Now, this is again the raw score. So Connie, yours shows up 0, but we know that you got some of them right, but it might not have been spelled the same way I did.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so don't get bothered by what you see. And I'm just doing that now so that you can see how it looks. All right, so we're going to go back to and my point is, people who think they do well, really very few people, right, Phyllis, get over 50%?
Yes.
Okay, there's a lot of tricky stuff in it, just like life. You know, this is not designed to sugarcoat things and make it easy for you to say, wow, I'm really smart. This is based upon when you get to be good at this and you get 80% of these things right, you will be competent, and you will thus be confident when you're in your interviews, because you will know that you know more than anybody else who's doing this interview. Your brain will be functioning better, your articulation will be better, your persuasiveness will be better, your presentation will be better, everything that you do will be better than anyone else. So, and you will feel good about that. But that's where we start now. Okay, so on this, now I think I'll make it a little bit larger. Okay, so the blue is the correct answer, what I'm looking for. And again, I abbreviated mine because I want to just see that people got the really highlights. And so many of them people don't get points. But Monday speaker, Sebastian Song. And we had a couple of people not get that. So I'm going to show you a little tip. And that is that on the calendar on Mondays, I list all of the TED Talks for the week. So you'll be able to see them. If you didn't see them this week, if they're not on your calendar, don't worry about it. They will be. So you'll have them there. And then there really is no excuse for not getting this correct. You know, part of the thing to be a good employee is you have to be clever and creative, and you have to find solutions to problems. You can't just say, well, I don't know, I don't remember. Okay, next, what was the Monday takeaway? So the Monday takeaway is something about mentioning the connectome. More often than not, if you look at the title of the TED Talk, that's a summary of what the TED Talk is. So his thing was, I am my connectome, and we are the results of our connectome. So connections in our brain are always growing and changing. Okay, so that is okay. That's a true thing. I am my connectome. So Jesus nailed that one. Good speak is not what the takeaway was. Okay, again, don't worry if you did very badly. This was your first experience of this. all you want to do is focus on your practice, focus on your thing, and you will get better. This will become easier. Now, here's one. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to repeat the question in the answer. So here, Monday takeaway. You don't want to say, my takeaway is, you just start at that. It doesn't matter how insignificant a person is, with confidence they can succeed in what they aim for. Okay, that really wasn't part of anything he said, but that doesn't matter. That's not the matter part. So the thing we want to do is, when you're doing an exam, you want to make it easy for the reader. The reader doesn't need to know, in this case, we don't need to know what the question was. Okay, not a big deal. Tuesday, Susanna Herculano Hosel. So anybody who just put Susanna Herculano did not get it right. Okay, that's an easy thing to fix. What I do when I do this is I go back to the Monday calendar. I don't waste a lot of energy trying to think of stuff. I go back to the calendar. I copy their name. I select it. I right click, copy, and I right click, copy. I go back to the thing, and then I paste it in there. That's what I do. Okay, so everybody did pretty well on that one. Okay, what was her takeaway? So what I was looking for is our brains are special because we have more neurons. Okay, so anything that led me to get that, you'll get credit for it. Human brain larger than animal brain. Well, okay, that's true, but that's not really the takeaway. But human brains are not larger than all animal brains. So they mention, what brains are bigger than a human brain? How about a whale brain? Is that bigger than a human brain? How about an elephant brain? Is that bigger than a human brain? Yeah. Okay. Still need to watch this. Okay, what's so special about the human brain? Okay, that's not really the takeaway. Good speak, brain talk. My takeaway was eating makes your brain grow. Okay, well, that might be true, but in law school, your paper would come back and say, and thus, elephants have big brains. They eat, their brains get big. So, and thus, the key point about that one, the key point about that TED Talk was to drive home that everybody gets, it's the number of neurons. That's what it's about. That's what separates us. That our brains are not fundamentally different from any other primate brain. It's just we have a lot more neurons. And then she got into diet. We ate a lot of protein, and we had the protein cooked. Gorillas eat raw leaves and stuff like that, bananas and leaves. And it takes them a long time to digest that food. So they always spend a lot more time eating and digesting food, where we were able to get a lot more calories, and we didn't have to spend a lot of time sleeping. So we went out and we did stuff. And the more stuff we did, the more our neural networks, the more our neurons in our brain made more connections. And then the more connections they made over thousands of years, we needed more neurons, and our brain, our skull changed to fit this extra larger brain in it, and that was the process. So it's not that there's an invisible man in the sky. It's not that we have, if you dissect a human brain, you're going to find a radio in there, some kind of transmitter receiver that can communicate with things that violate the laws of physics as we know them. It's about neurons. That we have a lot more neurons, a lot more neurons than anything else. So our neurons are the difference between us and everyone else. And that's the key. Wednesday, Jill Bolte. Okay, not Christopher McDougall. So I think, Larry, you were looking at a different list, not this week's list.
Oh.
Okay, Jill Bolte. Okay, so everybody did good. Now, Jesus and Darren, because of the way Fluber works, initially might not have caught that as a correct answer. Okay, so we go back and we fix these things. Okay, what was the takeaway? Well, what we were looking for is when our neurons aren't affected, our brains don't work. When our neurons are affected. When our neurons are affected, our brains don't work. So again, we're trying to come back and really nail down it's about neurons. We don't have this special other thing that our neurons can be hurt and we're still fine. So what was Jill Bolte talking about? She had a stroke. What's a stroke? What's a stroke, Connie?
It's bleeding in the brain.
Yeah, so you have a blood vessel burst in your skull.
Connections.
Blood starts flowing into your skull. Because our skull isn't like our arm, it can't swell outward. So it pushes on the brain, and that pushes on the neurons, and these little tree-like things, these branches get crushed together and they don't work. And then if they don't get enough blood and circulation and things, then they die. And when they die, then you end up not being able to speak or talk, or whatever part of your brain that happens in is affected. So this one we watched, not for the left brain, right brain, but we watch it, those are very important things. And that's why it's one of the most popular TED Talks out there. But our point is to really figure out, is this connectome thing, is that real? Is that true? Does that help me figure out who I am and why I behave the way I do? And so this is a technique called falsification. So if we take away, so the premise is it's the neurons. Okay, well, let's say we hurt the neurons. Let's say we destroy the neurons. Are we still who we are? Was Jill Bolte still who she was when she had her, 2 weeks after the stroke? No. How long did it take her to get back to?
8 years.
8 years. So we're in a next week. I think we see Amy Cuddy, who was in a car wreck. And I think she said it took her about 8 years, 6 years to get back. There's the congressman from Arizona that was shot in the head, Gabby, what's her name? Gabby Crawford or something, Gabby, whatever. Anyway, she's got problems, but she's coming back every day. So our brains are what's called plastic, which means they can reshape themselves and they can come back with, you can build new neural networks, neural connections with our brains. But with Jill Bolte, our point was, and the falsification was, okay, if it's really about neurons, then that should mean if we destroy the neurons or damage the neurons, our brain shouldn't work. And what happened? What happened, Jesus, when her neurons didn't work?
She shut down.
Yeah, she couldn't talk. She stuff she couldn't do. So that's what we were looking for there. Thursday, we took a little bit of a left turn, and we watched Johan Hari. Johan Hari was a hotshot a newspaper and magazine writer that got caught for plagiarism, and his career was ended. He got fired and got in the news, but he was a good presenter. He's a good speaker. And he talked about addiction. So our takeaway for that was addiction is not the result of hijacked neurons. Because what was the title of his TED Talk?
The truth about addiction.
What? No. Everything we think we know about addiction, everything you think you know about addiction is wrong. Okay, what do we think we know about addiction? That our brain gets hijacked by the drugs. Okay? So his thing is addiction is not the result of hijacked neurons. It's the result of what?
Connections.
What kind of connections?
Connections between.
Facebook connections?
No. Face-to-face
YouTube, right, exactly. He specifically says it's not your Twitter friends, it's not your Facebook friends that are your connections. It's the people that you can reach out and touch. Those friends are what it's about. And so his theory is anybody who's addicted, that is what they bond to. If you're addicted to alcohol, you bond with alcohol because you don't have social relationships. And that, his thing is that's a fundamental thing we need. We need to be connected. Okay, but that's what we were looking for on Thursday. let's see, what does this say? What was the primary theme for this week? The primary theme of the week is the fundamental driver to the two basic questions is our connectome. Now, I know that nobody in the almost 3 years that we've been doing this here, before they started watching these connectome, if we said to them, what is it that makes you who you are and why you behave the way you do? What is the fundamental thing? Who are you and why do you behave the way you do? Nobody ever answers because of my neurons. A lot of people answer because of Jesus or because of God. Right, Phyllis?
Yeah.
Okay, and a lot of people get upset when we talk about that. So I want to apologize in advance because you'll get upset a lot. But that's not why we are or why we behave the way we do. And parenthetically, for everybody on your page that says, oh, you don't have your page yet, but you'll have a page in your composition book called Important Thoughts. Oh, there's no reason to write it. You can't see it. Important thoughts. So one important thought is something called Clarke's fourth law. Clarke's fourth law. Does anybody know what that is? John, do you know?
Something can't go wrong and look.
What?
That's Murphy.
Yeah. Clarke's fourth law is for every expert, there's an equal and opposite expert. So Phyllis got it. So what that means is you have people who spent their lives studying Judaism. They're the most knowledgeable people about Judaism, and they absolutely believe that Judaism is correct. Then there are people who are equal and opposite experts who say, no, Islam is correct. And other people who've spent their whole life studying the meaning of life, and they say, no, Hinduism. And others say Buddhism. And others say Christianity. So Clarke's fourth law is for every expert, there's an equal and opposite expert. And there are some people who say there is nothing when you die. It's like the light bulb, the filament breaks, and that's the end of the light bulb. It doesn't go anywhere else. So what we want to get to is it's your connectome. The better you exercise your connectome, the better it's going to be for you. Memorization is a key part because every time you say something or see something or write something, you make another copy in your brain. You're making that neural pathway stronger. And so that's why it's important to memorize stuff, to be able to remember, because you're not developing your connectome if you learn something and you forget it because you don't reinforce those neural connections. That's what we were looking for there. Okay, now here's some of the important ones. Finally, the ones that you're going to want to know because they're going to come up. Who spoke of essentialism? Okay, Jesus got it. How did you get that, Jesus?
I think I got notes.
Okay, so Jesus went through his notes. Essentialism. So the thing about essentialism is our brains add value to something based upon our perceptions of it. It's not just the thing. So a phony Rolex watch to us is not the same, even if it's an exact replica. It's not the same as the real Rolex watch. Even though you wouldn't be able to tell, the fact that we know it's different makes it different. And so we're going to watch a TED Talk by Paul Bloom, which talks about people in a functional MRI machine that are sipping wine. So they're watching what's going on in people's brains, sipping wine. And what they're watching in people's brains is blood flow. And in our blood, we have iron. So these fMRI machines are these big magnets, and they can but they can track and monitor the amount of blood flow in your brain, in our brains. And when different parts of our brains have different blood flow, that means that part of the brain is working, just like a muscle in our hand. You know, there's going to be more blood flow if you're doing push-ups than if you're just standing there. So they got these people, they put them in an fMRI machine, they gave them a long straw plastic tube to sip wine out of, and they showed people pictures of the bottle of wine and a description of the wine, and they asked people how they thought it tasted. And what do you think they found, Connie?
I have no idea.
Okay, so what they found is when people had sipped wine out of an expensive bottle that had a description and a fancy label, in their brain, they would see parts of their brain lining up more than when they thought it was, Charles Schwab or really cheap wine. If people saw a bottle, they saw a picture of the bottle, it was a cheap bottle with the twist top, and they tasted the wine and they watched what was going on in their brain, not what they said, but what was going on in their brain, they saw that when you are drinking expensive wine, your brain lights up differently than when you're drinking cheap wine. Except that's not what the experiment was, because everybody had exactly the same wine. The wine was not any different. So essentialism is the value we give things, the essence of a thing matters to how we view the thing. So another example they give is a sweater worn by George Clooney has more value than the exact same sweater that's brand new. People will pay more for it, except they'll pay less if you can't tell anybody that you got a George Clooney sweater. And they'll pay less for that sweater if it was washed before they gave it to you. If it was thoroughly cleaned and it didn't have any of George Clooney's microbes on it, it was worth even less. So that's what essentialism about. That's a very important thing. So in business, when you're at a job, when you're doing something, you want to add essentialism into why your company is better than anybody else. Okay, next, what is Stoicism? We are going to study this. Stoicism is a philosophy. It's not a state of mind. It's not a way of life. I mean, yeah, it is that, but it's really a philosophy. Okay? I mean, you can say any philosophy is a way of life or a state of mind. Stoicism is a philosophy. If you go into a bookstore and you say, show me the state of mind section, there will not be a book in there about Stoicism. Maybe there'll be one. There probably won't be any. If you go to the section of the bookstore called a way of life section, you won't find books on Stoicism. But if you go to the philosophy section, you will find books on Stoicism. Stoicism, just a quick thing, Stoicism is a philosophy, a way of living that passes something called the categorical imperative test. And we're going to talk about that throughout our term. And basically, does anybody know what the categorical imperative test is? Where's Marty when we need him? Okay. The categorical imperative test is if you act such that what you do is a law and everybody did it, would the world be better? Okay, if everybody got to drive as fast as they wanted, would the world be better? And we all know the answer is no. If everybody smoked pot, would the world be better? And I think if everybody thinks about it for about 6.8 seconds, they'd say no, because we wouldn't have computers, we wouldn't have things that have to be exactly precision. So the categorical imperative test is act such that what you do is a law. And then ask, if everybody did this, would the world be better? And if you say yes, then that would be a thing that you should do. So the fundamental tenet of Stoicism is moral virtue is enough. Do the right thing at the right time in the right way. If you always do that, that's enough. That's all you have to do. And so if you ask the categorical imperative, well, if everybody acted that way, with moral virtue, if everybody acted with moral virtue, would the world be better? Yes, it would be better. So in Stoicism, it starts, and we'll study this, but Stoicism starts with the premise, there are things I can control and things I cannot control. And the things I cannot control, I cannot let bother me because I can't control them. And there's only a few things I can control. I can control myself and I can control my behavior. And I have to focus on always staying in control of myself and not letting external things control me. So it's not an easy thing, but we're going to study someone who is probably one of the most powerful people in the history of the world, who lived as a Stoic his whole life, including 19 years as the Emperor of Rome, when he could have had anything, and he did not give in to any kind of temptation. And we know about it because he wrote a book, but it was a journal. It was called To Myself, and it was just his personal journal that he had instructed to burn when he died. But when the people found these journals, they said, no, we can't burn this stuff. So he didn't write it for other people to do it. It wasn't like hey, everybody, here's who I am. If you act the way I act, you're going to be great too. This was a thing of just notes to himself and ideas that he had in his mind, because he really didn't have anybody to talk to, because everybody wanted something from it. So Stoicism is a thing, is a philosophy. It's a way to behave. And if you are able to do this, then good things will happen. Christianity in the 300s AD usurped Stoicism. Stoicism started about 300 BC, so it's about 2,300 years old. It was very popular. It was one of the basic ways to act and behave if you were educated back, up to 300 AD. For about 600 years, some educated people would adopt a Stoic lifestyle. But when Emperor Constantine decided he was going to call a council of Nicaea and have the bishops from everywhere come together and decide what the New Testament is going to be. Once that happened, then Stoicism died out, because Stoicism isn't based upon a premise of act good today so that when you die, you'll go to a magical place. Stoicism says act good today, moral virtue is enough. Act good today because that's how you should act today. Don't act good because you want a reward in the future. So another TED Talk we'll have will be with chimpanzees. And if you get two chimpanzees, they might exchange a banana for something else. But no chimpanzee will say, if you give me this banana, we'll say to another chimpanzee, give me that banana so that when you die, you're going to go to chimpanzee heaven. No chimpanzee will ever believe that story. But if you have something the chimpanzee wants, or they have an extra banana, they'll give it to you, but they're never going to give you a banana because you say, if you give me that banana today, you're going to go to chimpanzee heaven in the future. So Stoicism ran into conflict with the church, because the church's basis was act good today, suffer today, do what we tell you to do today, so that when you die, you'll go to heaven. And Stoicism said, no, you should act good today because it's the right thing. So Stoicism is very important. And I can assure you, I can promise you that when you get into a work environment, if you're a person with a Stoic attitude, you will be a great employee. You will go very far. Okay. Who said that we can create our own happiness? Dan Gilbert. Okay, so here was a trick question. So I put down there Doug Gilbert. And Larry got close because he remembered, it's something like this. It must be this, right? Right, Larry?
Maybe.
Okay. That was a trick. This was other.
I fell for the trick?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
You got a lot closer than everyone else. Don't be, everyone else was just guessing. At least you got on the target. But this is an example of other. I give a bunch of names, and then there's other. Most people fall for the trap in life. If I give you a choice between A and B, or I say, or you come up with something, 9 times out of 10, people are going to say A or B. They're not going to think about other. They're going to ignore that. So here, Dan Gilbert is going to show us, he's a Harvard guy, he's going to show us that there's 2 types of happiness. What are they, Phyllis?
Synthetic happiness. I did it again. And
okay, real happiness
yeah.
and synthetic happiness. And he says, Real happiness is the way we feel when we get what we want. That's happiness. Most people don't know that there's this other thing called synthetic happiness, and it's something that's created in our brain, and that's when we get something we didn't want. Then, so he gives examples of people who, after something bad happened to them, they come back and say, boy, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Like the drummer for the Beatles. The Beatles got rid of him 20, 30 years later. They asked him about his life. He said, you know, I'm happier than I would have been if I had been with the Beatles. People that get break their backs, become paralyzed 6 months later, we have this thing called synthetic happiness. So our brain is able to create happiness out of adversity. In other words, we don't kill ourselves, we actually do it. And again, putting people in fMRI machines and doing experiments does it. And so we're going to watch an experiment or follow an experiment where they give people 6 pictures and they say, rank these, the one you like best to the one you like least. And whichever one the people said is number 4, this is number 4, and this is number 3. The ones they chose as 3 and 4, they said to the person, you know, thank you for doing this test. We have a couple. We have a number 3 or a number 4 to give to you as a gift for doing it. You know, we have a couple of these. They don't say it's your number 3. You think it's the extras. Your third choice and your fourth choice, you get to choose one of those. So most of the people say, oh, cool, I'll take number 3. Then they come back a couple weeks later, 20 days later, 30 days later, they come back and they say to people, now rank those pictures. We're going to show you these pictures again, rank them in order. And what happens is number 3 now becomes their second favorite choice, and number 4 becomes their 5th favorite choice. So when you have a thing, you start liking it better. But that wasn't really the experiment. They then did the experiment on people who have a form of amnesia from alcoholism where they can't remember stuff. So they did the experiment on the people. They said, okay, we've got these 6 pictures, rank them in order from 1 to 6, whatever you like. And they said, oh, okay, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They said, you know, this picture and that picture, their 3rd and 4th choice, we have, we're going to give you one of those. Which one would you like as a gift? And the people said, well, I'll take number 3. Because they should, right? If it was your 3rd, if you could choose between your 3rd favorite and your 4th favorite, you would choose the 3rd. Then they came back 20 minutes later and said to the people, hi, do you remember us? No, I have amnesia. I don't remember. You don't remember we were just here? No, you don't remember we gave you a picture? No, I don't remember any of that. Sorry. And they said, okay, well, we have these 6 pictures. Would you rank them in order from 1 to 6? And these are people that didn't even remember the pictures. They didn't remember they had a picture. But the same thing happened to them, that their brains, now the original one that they picked as number 3 was their second favorite one, and the one they didn't take, number 4, became number 5. So that's a thing that our brain does. It creates happiness. But the real part of the talk is synthetic happiness only occurs when there's an irreversible condition. In other words, you're paralyzed and you'll never walk again. You can have synthetic happiness. You're paralyzed and you might be able to walk again. You don't, synthetic happiness does not occur because you have hope for the other thing. And so what we're going to learn from that is when you give people choices, if you say to them, you have choice A or B, if you choose, whichever one you choose, you can change your mind later versus you have choice A or B, whichever one you choose is permanent. Because we're sending the other one off to headquarters in England in 15 minutes. You're never going to have that choice again. It turned out that the people who didn't get to change their mind were happier. They liked the choice they made better than the people who got to think in terms of, well, maybe I should go back and take the other one. Is this one really better than the other one? So synthetic happiness is very important. It's very important when we're at work. Next, Dan Dennett, Philosophy of Life. Find something more important than you are and dedicate your life to it. Okay, so we had Larry, got that one. Okay, 1 neuron is science, 2 is psychology. Okay, Dan Dennett did say that, but that's not his philosophy of life. That's what they have in the psychology department or the brain science department of Harvard. Working on 1 neuron is science, 2 is psychology. Okay, so Jesus, Garen, moral virtue is enough is a good answer, but that's stoicism. Okay, next. Who said people don't buy what you do? What's the rest of it?
They buy why you do it.
They buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So this is going to be a TED Talk that points out why people buy stuff from Apple, but they don't buy it from Dell, even though Dell has the ability to get the same parts, the same employees, do everything the same, and it's because Apple is cool. Why is Apple cool? Everybody has the reasons why Apple is cool. So people in business, so an advantage we have going into business, helping your employer make money or save money, is to get to the why we do what we do. Why do we do pizza the way we do? Why do we exist? Not what do we do, why do we exist? Okay, so Simon Sinek. Next. Okay, that's it. So you should have those things written in your book for the TED Talk quiz, because every week those same exact questions are going to be on the quiz. There might be different ways. I'm not going to use the same trick spelling every week because that wouldn't be too tricky. But the same questions will be there and the same ability to answer that. And if you really know these things, like you know your birth date, they will help you in business and in your interview. Okay, 10 o'clock.
You remember that was after Dan Daniel's philosophy of life?
Okay, so for the 10 o'clock quiz, the important things are, what are the 2 primary things employers care about when it comes to employees? Make money, save money. Okay, make money, save money. That's the 2 primary things. So when it says primary, when you see a question that says primary, you should get that means there's other ones. We're not looking for anything. And so if we look at these things, reliability, now that's not a primary thing people look for. Yeah, it's a thing that they look for. They want reliable people, but if you got somebody who's good and not really reliable, or somebody who's completely reliable but not really good, who's going to get the job? You got a moron who's completely reliable versus somebody who's not a moron, and they're not as reliable. It's not the reliable guy, it's not the moron that's going to get the job. Okay? Hard worker, not necessarily true. Some people work hard, but they just screw up all the time. Right, Phyllis?
Yeah.
Okay? It's not about being a hard worker, it's about being a smart worker. So if you're going to put worker in there, you should put, I'm a smart worker. Really, really, really successful people are salespeople. Most people who make the most money in companies are salespeople. Really good salespeople work 3 hours a day. And when they work those 3 hours a day, it's total intensity, focus on those 3 hours. Typical employee spends less than 3 hours working in an 8-hour day. Their mind is off on this, that, they're doing Facebook, they're thinking about what they're going to do, they're forgetting stuff, they're going to the coffee machine, they're doing stuff, they're having phone conversations with people that are not leading to making money or saving money. That's what the typical person does. Why? Well, you can't be intense. You cannot have total focus on something for 8 hours. It's impossible. No one can do it. So good salespeople say, you know what? I'm going to psych myself up. I'm going to go to work today. I'm going to put in 3 really kick-ass hours. It might not be 3 hours straight. Could be I'm going to do 2 hours before lunch, then after lunch, I'm going to really pour it on. I'm going to do everything I can do. And when you have that kind of attitude, you can get a lot of stuff done. Don't bug me now. I'm focused on work. You don't remember. Everything's fresh in your brain. You take it from there. So it's not about being a hard worker. And again, somebody you can rely on, but if they're incompetent, not so good. Or I can rely on this guy. He doesn't make any money, but you know what? He's always here. He shows up. He's going to try his best. No, that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for making money or saving money. That guy makes me money. Yeah, he's a pain in the ass, but he makes me money. I can't get rid of him. If he's not making me money, he's going to be making my competitors money, and I really don't want that because he's going to be taking food out of my mouth. Okay, what is the Larson proactive approach? Okay, so this is number C, find your calling or destiny. And here at Larson, a calling means you love doing it so much you do it for free. That's a calling. That's like mothers that are room mothers for their kids in school. They like doing it so much they do it for free. They don't do it for money. If you find yourself only doing something because of the money, you should really find a different career because you're going to end up not being happy. Okay? A destiny is something you love doing so much you'd pay to do it. This is like Mother Teresa. This is the people who really make the big social changes. Did Martin Luther King go out doing what he did because he got paid to do it? No. Did he do it for free? No. He went out and raised money so he could do what he did. He didn't just raise money and say, this goes in my bank account. He raised money so he could do what he did. Those are the kind of people who change things for people who are Christians. Did Jesus go out there and say, well, as long as I'm getting paid, I'm going to help people? No. Did he say, well, I'm only going to do it unless I have to pay? It's one thing to go out and preach. It's another thing to have to go out and raise money so that I can afford to go out and preach. What did Jesus do? Constance. He said, pay me and I'll preach.
No.
Okay. He said, I'll preach as long as there's money.
No.
Okay. He paid. People don't have food. No problem. I'll make fish and bread out of these baskets of 5 loaves or whatever. Find calling. Okay, so that's the thing. Next, what 5 words should you always use to describe Larson Training Centers? Actually, Larson Business School now. The Stanford of vocational schools.
The Stanford?
Yeah, not Stanford, not Standard, not Stanford, the Stanford. Stanford University. So Stanford University is, one of the top universities. I grew up on the West Coast in California. And so I'm, kind of biased to Stanford versus Harvard. But so what we want to establish is this is the Stanford of vocational schools. This is the top of the list. Okay, next. What is Chrome? An amazing website. No, it's not a website. It's a browser. Okay, that's the starting point. It is a browser. And what I would be looking for, I don't have my answer in here, but what I would be looking for is that it competes with Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari. And then what makes it different? Okay, it's fully customizable. And the Google apps are designed to work within it. Okay, so here, Musu, good. Chrome is an internet browser, great start. Developed by Google, good. That's another good thing. Let's say that combines minimal design with sophisticated technology to make the web faster, safer, and easier. Okay, that's good. The Google Chrome browser offers features including access to favorite pages instantly with thumbnails, desktop shortcut. Okay, that sounds like somebody else wrote it. So, but that's a good answer. If you wrote it, great. If you found it and you copied it, great too. Search and navigate from the same box, choose okay. So these are descriptions of what it does, and that's good. Okay, Chrome is the first internet browser developed in 1990. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. So it's a browser. That's, you got to say it's a browser, and you should distinguish it or differentiate it from the competitors and say why it's better and or why we use it. Why do we use Chrome? Well, we use Chrome because the Google apps we use are designed to run in Chrome. Why do we use those apps? Because Google has a full suite of apps that you can run a business or your personal life. Okay? Skype is a great app, but it's not a, there's Skype, there's the Skype calendar, there's the Skype, all of these things. It's not an all-inclusive. It's not an alpha to omega or end-to-end solution. It's a thing. And Google has the best thing. That thing is free for people. It's always being updated. And that's what Chrome is. How do you start Chrome? Okay, so what's one way to start Chrome? Taskbar. Click on the gear icon in the right corner of the screen, select from drop-down menu. Well, that icon in the right corner of the screen is when you're in Chrome. So you can launch it from this button down here. That button could be on your desktop. You could go into your settings and have it on here. You could set up your machine to automatically launch Chrome every time you turn it on. Okay, that's some examples. How do you change the settings on Chrome? Okay, so by opening up your browser, okay, well, the browser's already open, but okay, that would be a very good technical thing, okay, because you can't change the settings unless Chrome is open. Clicking on the three parallel lines on the top right of the window and then click on settings, scroll down, okay. So that says how to do it. Chrome for education offers more 100, okay, this is not, okay. Where you see the three parallel lines, page of settings will come up. Okay, that works. Sign into Chrome, good. So one, sign into Chrome. Click the gear on the right-hand side of the page, select settings from the drop-down menu. Okay, so that works. What are the best practices using Chrome on someone else's computer? Okay, now when you find you don't have answers, what that should say to yourself is, I didn't remember any of this. I better write this down. Why wasn't I able to pay attention? Because if one person can do it, everyone can. What are the best practices using Chrome on someone else's computer? Okay. Never save passwords so the next person, okay, that's good. Number one. Two, always sign out of Google Chrome. Okay, good. So those are two good answers. Thank you, Connie. What is the Omnibox? It's also known as the URL. It's located at the top. Okay, good. Chrome for education. These are the same answers. Okay. Next. What is the Omnibox? You can search website. Okay. So nobody really got that. This box up here is the Omnibox. What is the difference between apps and extensions? Okay, so an app is an app that you get to by going up here to this apps button. An extension is an app that you get to from here, from your Omnibox. It's quicker to get to an extension than it is to an app. And and mostly extensions don't have as much, there's not as much stuff in them. An extension, they're smaller. So here's an extension that's dictionary that we'll load on our machines. Everybody will have this. And so if you want to go to the dictionary, You just click up here, boom, you type in what you want to know. So that's a thing you should know for future tests. If you see a word you don't know, you can copy it, paste it into the dictionary, and it gives you the definition. That's an extension. It's, you know, it might be a smaller app, a less content-rich app, but they're stored on the right side of the Omnibox. What does it mean to pin something? Okay. No, not to blame something on someone. Okay, we're talking in the context of Chrome. So to pin something, this is pinning it. So if you go up to a tab and you right click, you'll see an option that says pin tab. If I click that, watch what happens. Where'd it go? Anybody see where it went? Okay, it went over here. It went over on the left to save space. So when you pin things, they go over to the left side of your tabs, goes all the way over to the left. And the reason it goes there is so it leaves real estate so you can see the other stuff. Right? So if I start pinning, if I pin this, and I pin this, and I pin this, see how much more space I have at the top? So that's what pinning means.
So it's like a condensate.
Yeah, it's like condensing it. Okay, now you can also pin things to the taskbar. That's these things down here. At the bottom of your screen, those are pinned to the taskbar. So if you right click on them, you see that you have a choice. Well, I can't do it with that one, but because they're already pinned to the taskbar. But if I went to my desktop and I right click, I can't do it on, well, I don't have anything to pin, but if I went to I could pin something onto my taskbar, program onto my taskbar to make it easy to launch. Okay, let's see, last one. I think it's the last one. What types of things can be added to the bookmarks bar? Okay, and the correct answer would be, so the question here is what types of things, not what should you do, it's what can be done. So it's basically anything with a URL, anything that has one of these can be put on the taskbar. So it can be a video, an audio, a book, a cartoon, a picture, an Adobe Photoshop thing. It could be anything that has a URL string. Can it be a cup of water? No.
No.
Okay, why not?
A cup of water, it's not a.
Right, a cup of water is a tangible physical thing.
Or it's.
Could it be a picture of a cup of water?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if it has a URL.
Okay. Could it be a picture? Okay. So let's say it's just a photo that ends in .jpg.
Don't know.
Okay. So it can be, but you have to get it off of the drive. You have to get it from someone.
Okay.
Or off of your desktop.
You have to go to the website and get
Well, website, or it could be on your desktop,
Yeah.
but virtually anything can be on your bookmarks bar. If it's a file of some type, an electronic file, it can be on your bookmarks bar. If it's not electronic, it's a person, no, can't be. Is it a picture of a person? Yeah, it can be. Okay, everyone, well, we had a good day. It's 3:15. We close up here. What time, Phyllis? What time?
3:23.
3:23, so everybody can get to the bus. Because if you don't get to the bus in time, instead of getting back at 5, if you get the next bus, you'll get back at 4:30, right?
No, if they're 5:30, period.
Okay, no options. Okay, so we're going to leave in a few minutes. We're going to see everybody here on Monday. So Phyllis, if you could send the list to Sherry so she can put it in for movement, that would be great. Good job, good effort. Everybody should feel good that we got through the first day. We overcame technical issues. by working together, not panicking. And thanks to your leader, John, it was a good week. Okay, everyone?
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll see you Monday.
Okay. See everybody on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you.